learn the 8th unit, and that is controlling. In this unit, our learning objectives will be explaining the meaning of controlling, importance of controlling, and the steps in the process of control. So let's start with the meaning of controlling. Controlling is one of the important functions of a manager. In order to seek planned results from the subordinates, a manager needs to exercise effective control over the activities of the subordinate. In other words, controlling means ensuring that activities in an organization are performed as per the plans. It also ensures that organization resources are being used effectively and efficiently for the achievement of predetermined goals. So we have to focus on these 3 points. First of all, it is a goal-oriented function, it is a pervasive function, and it is not the last function of management. It is a function that brings back the management cycle back to the planning function. Here it means that once we have planned, then we have to organize, then staffing, directing, and controlling. So at controlling we got the results, and if results are not as per our choice, then we have to again plan for next process. So it is a function that brings back the management cycle to the planning function. So it is a cyclical function. The controlling function finds out how far actual performance deviates from standards and analyzes the cause of such deviations. Thus, controlling only completes one cycle of management process and improves planning in the. Now, importance of controlling. First point, accomplishing organizational goals. The controlling function measures progress towards the organizational goals and bring to light the deviation, if any, if there are any differences, and indicate the corrective action that how these deviation can be corrected. It thus guides the organization and keep it on the right track so that organizational goals might be achieved. Second point, judging accuracy of standards. A good control system enables management to verify whether the standards set are accurate and objective. So first of all, we must know that what are standards. So here these standards means the standard of performance. Standard of performance can be in any form, say 100 units production per day. So we set a standard of 100 units per day for the employees. Similarly, in your examination also you have the standard of 100 marks. So first of all, we have to see that whether these standards are set accurate or not. An effective control system keeps a careful check on changes taking place in the organization and in the environment and helps to review and revise the standards in the light of such change. Suppose the employees are not able to achieve this target and they are getting only 40%. Then it means the standard set is too high and we have to cancel this type of standards and revise them, because the performance of all the employees is only up to 40 units per day. So it is very important that we have to check whether the standard sets are accurate or not. If they are not, then they must be revised. This is another example. like we have set a target of 100 units and actual performance is 80, and the deviation here is 20. The difference is known as deviation. In second example, the target is same 100 units but actual performance is 40. So there is a deviation of 60. So we must always see whether the standards are accurate and objective or not. Then only it will help us to perform better. Next point, making efficient use of resources. By exercising control, a manager seeks to reduce wastage and spoilage of resources, and each activity is performed in accordance with the predetermined standards. What are predetermined standards? They are the standards which are decided in advance. And norms. Norms are also standards. This ensures that resources are used in the most effective and efficient manner. Next point is improving employees' motivation. A good control system ensures that employees know well in advance what they are expected to do. Means they are always told in advance that these are your functions and you have to perform these functions in this particular time. So when they know that what they have to perform and what are the standard of performance on the basis of which they will be appraised, it thus motivate them also and help them to give better performance because they are being watched. The next point is ensuring order and discipline. Controlling creates an atmosphere of order and discipline in the organization. It helps to minimize dishonest behavior on the part of employees. Suppose any employee is trying to cheat the organization, so we can use a close check on their activities by various controlling devices like CCTVs, etc. So it also maintain a discipline. Next point is facilitating coordination in action. An effective controlling system provides directions to all the activities and efforts for achieving organizational goals, and each department and employee is governed by predetermined standards which they already know what they have to do and it in what quantity, and which are well coordinated with one another. This also ensures that overall organizational objectives are. Then let's come to the limitations of the controlling. There are several limitations also. First one is difficulty in setting quantitative standards. So what are quantitative standards? Quantitative standards are those targets which can be expressed in numbers. If we can decide any target in number like 1, 2, 3 or in any other form, then these are known as quantitative standards. We can use these type of standards for those products which can be quantified. And control system loses some of its effectiveness when standards cannot be defined in quantitative terms. In many areas, the standards are not in quantitative terms. This makes the measurement of performance and their comparison with standard a difficult task. Suppose we have to set a standard for a painting or the loyalty of the employees, then it cannot be measured. How can we measure the loyalty of an employee? It is 1, 2, 3 or 100 or 1000. So it cannot be expressed into numbers, so that's why it is a qualitative standard. And for qualitative things it is difficult to decide the quantitative standard. If we cannot quantify anything, it is very difficult to compare and analyze. And employees' morale, job satisfaction and human behavior are such area where this problem might arise. We cannot quantify the employees' morale. how their high morale is or low morale is, or how much job satisfaction does an employee have. So the values, actually the values are qualitative, they cannot be quantified. So this is the limitation of controlling. Next one is little control on external factor. So we all know that what are the external factors? External factors are those which we have studied in third unit, like government policies, technological changes, competition, economic environment. All type of environment comes under this category. So if we don't have any control on these factors, then how we can control our organizations? So it is all. Next point is resistance from employees. Control is often resisted by employees. They see it as a restriction on their freedom. For instance, employee might object when they are kept under a CCTV watch. If any CCTV is installed, they object to it. Generally it happens. So this is also a limitation. And next one is costly affair. Controlling system is very costly and it involves a lot of expenditure, time and effort. A small enterprise cannot afford to install an expensive controlling system. It cannot justify the expense involved, and manager must ensure that the cost of installing and operating a control system should not exceed the benefits derived from it. So for small organization it is a costly affair, and for big organization it is compulsory because number of employees are more. So students, now we have the second topic from this unit, and that is controlling process. And controlling process have 5 points, and it is very important topic. So the first point is setting performance standard, then second is measurement of actual performance, third is comparison of actual performance with standard, and fourth is analyzing deviations. And last point is taking corrective action. And you have seen that there are some numbers written. So why these numbers are written here? Because we are expressing it in numbers. Suppose for an industry the performance standards are set as 100 units per day, means every employee has to produce at least 100 units per day of a particular product. But actually they are able to produce only 80 units. So that is measurement of actual performance. Then we compare the actual performance with the standard, that is 100, and 100 minus 80 equals to 20. So there is a difference of 20. This 20 is known as deviation. And then we analyze the causes behind the deviation, why these deviations happened. And at last we take corrective action to remove these deviations, means there must be a match between the performance standard and actual performance. So let's start in detail. The first step in the controlling process is setting performance standard, that is 100, and standards are the criteria against which actual performance would be measured. The standards serve as a benchmark toward which an organization strives to work. Standard can be set in both quantitative terms, means in numbers, and as well as in qualitative terms. For example, standard set in term of cost to be incurred. So cost is a quantitative standard. Revenue to be earned, product unit to be produced and sold, time to be spent in performing a task, all represent quantitative standard. Sometimes standard may also be set in qualitative term, like improving goodwill and motivation level of employee. It is important that standard should be flexible enough to be modified whenever required. If standards are very rigid, then it is very difficult to adjust in the changing business environment. And standards may need some modification to be realistic in changed business environment. Next step, and that is measurement of actual performance, which I have told you is 80. Once performance standards are set, the next step is measurement of actual performance, and performance should be measured in an objective and reliable manner. There are several techniques of measurement of performance. These include personal observation, means if any worker is performing a task and we have given him a target, then we can personally observe him. But if the number of employees is more, then it is not possible for every manager to observe each and every one. So then we have another method, that is sampling or sample checking. In sampling, we randomly check some employees, or we have another device like performance report, which is submitted by the supervisor. So as far as possible, performance should be measured in the same units in which standards are set. It is similar to mathematics when something is given in liter or something is given in meter and inches. So we have to make them similar, means if inches are given and meters are given, then we convert all both of them into inches. So similar units must be used for comparison. Next, it is generally believed that measurement should be done after the task is completed. Generally, people measure at the end, but nowadays measurement of work should be done during the performance. Example, measurement of performance of an employee may require preparation of performance report by superior, or measurement of a company performance may involve calculation of certain ratios like gross profit ratio, net profit ratio, return on investment, etc. So what are these ratios? It is not in this syllabus, means we have to just name them, and there is no use of going in detail of these ratios, and they are already covered in the accountancy syllabus and entrepreneurship also. Next one is third step, that is comparing actual performance with standard. Our standards are 100 and actual performance is 80. So the deviation is here, that is 20. This step involves comparison of actual performance with the standard. Such comparison will reveal the deviation between actual and desired result, and comparison becomes easier when standards are set in quantitative terms. I have told you earlier, for instance, performance of a worker in terms of unit produced in a week can be easily measured against the standard output for the week. The next step is analyzing deviation. Now we analyze why this deviation of 20 units arrived. Some deviation in the performance can be expected in all activities. It is not possible that if we have set a target of 100 units, every employee will be able to meet that target. There may be some employees whose performance is more than 100, and there may be some employees whose performance is less than 100. So it is therefore important to determine the acceptable range. So here we can decide an acceptable range like this, plus minus 10%. Means if 100 unit target is decided in advance and an employee is performing 120, then it is acceptable because we have allowed plus minus 10%. And if an employee is performing at 90 units, it is also permissible. But sometime it may possible that their actual performance is 70 or 80 or 120, 130, then it is beyond the acceptable range. So we must decide the acceptable range after deciding the standards. Also, deviation in key area of business need to be attended more urgently. There are some key area in every business which is very important. So we have to urgently attend these deviation in those particular area. Suppose we are manufacturing a mobile phone and its hardware is working properly, but the software is corrupted or it is malfunctioning. So we have to focus on it because it is very urgent or key area. So for this we have two different methods of analyzing deviation, that is critical point control and management by exception. Start with the critical point control. You see here that this goalkeeper is standing in behind and here written critical control point, and other players are in front, they are control point. Why it is critical point? Because it is the only place, if this goalkeeper defends the goal, they can win the match. So similarly, for an organization, we have several critical points, and in critical point control method, it is neither economical nor easy to keep a check on each and every activity in an organization. So control should therefore focus on key result areas, or we can say KRAs, which are critical to the success of an organization. These KRAs are set as the critical points. If anything goes wrong at the critical point, the entire organization suffers. So here we focus on only KRAs. For instance, in a manufacturing organization, an increase of 5% in the labor cost may be more troublesome than a 15% increase in postal charges. Then move on to next slide, that is management by exception. Management by exception here means control by exception, and it is important principle of management control based on the belief that an attempt to control everything results in controlling nothing. Means if a manager want to control each and everything of an organization, it is very difficult and almost impossible. So he must have to focus on certain exceptional points. Thus only significant deviations which go beyond the permissible limit should be brought to the notice of management. Thus if the plans lay out down 2% increase in labor cost as an acceptable range of deviation in a manufacturing organization, only increase in labor cost beyond 2% should be brought to the notice of management. If they have decided earlier that 2% is permissible limit, so those costs which go beyond 2% would be told to the management. However, in case of major deviation from the standard, say if it is 5%, the matter has to receive immediate action of management on a priority basis. So it depends that which aspect of our business we decide is very critical or exceptional for us, then only it can be performed. Next point is last step, taking corrective action. The final step in the controlling process is taking corrective action. No corrective action is required when the deviations are within acceptable limits. However, when the deviation go beyond the acceptable range, especially in the important areas, it demand immediate managerial attention so that deviations do not occur again and standards are accomplished. So it is the most important step because here only we are removing the barrier and obstacles in our progress. So it is the most important. The previous 4 steps are only for identification. Here only we are doing the corrective action. It might involve training of employees. If they are untrained or not well trained, then we will train them again. If the production target could not be met, similarly, if an important project is running behind schedule, the corrective action might involve assigning of additional workers and equipment to the project and permission of overtime. In case the deviation cannot be corrected through managerial action, the standard may have to be revised. I have told you earlier, if standards are very far away from actual performance, then the standards are unrealistic and they must be revised. And there are some example of corrective actions, like if we have a defective material, change the quality specification for the material used. If there is a defective machinery, repair the existing machinery or replace the machinery. If there is obsolete machinery, means out of fashion or old technology machinery, undertake technical upgradation of machinery. If there is a defective process, modify the process. If there is defective physical condition of work, improve the physical condition of work. So these are some corrective actions for the following problems or causes of. So thank you students, that's all, and I hope you have understood it. Thank you for watching.